Yeah, thank you. If I think we can go ahead and start. So welcome everyone to today's section. So before now we've gone through basic SQL, joins in SQL, and then we also covered aggregations in SQL. Today we'll be looking at subqueries and common table expressions in SQL. So we'll start with SQL subqueries. So what are SQL subqueries? So SQL subqueries is simply, or they are simply queries within other queries. So a subquery is simply a query within another query. So sometimes in SQL, you're trying to answer some data questions, and you might need to next queries together. So you combine queries, you use the result of one query in another query to return the correct results. So these are called subqueries. And subqueries, right? You have two or more parts of the query, right? So you have the outer query, which is the main query that gives you the results. Then you also have the inner query, and this inner query is the subquery. So the inner query runs first. Then from the results of the inner query, you can then use that to get your final results in the main query. So we'll see examples, and this will make more sense. So subqueries, right, they must be enclosed in parentheses, as we'll see in a bit. And like I said earlier, the inner query executes first before the main query. So the results of the inner query is passed to the outer query, and this is used to return the results. And then also, you can use subqueries in select statements, insert statements, delete statements, or update statements to carry out the following tasks. You can compare an expression to the result of the query. You can determine if an expression is included in the result of the query. You can check whether the query returns any rows. So we'll see examples in a bit. So the basic subquery syntax is this. So select column name or column names from table where, so you have the your filter condition, and then you now compare this. So the very last line, this is your subquery. This last line is in parentheses, right? This last line here, that's a subquery, right? So it's enclosed in parentheses. So this circle here, right? That's your main query. And this last line, that's the inner query. So the inner query, right? The very last line, that will run first. And the results from the last line, we'll now use that to filter this main query up here and get the final results. So we'll see examples in a bit so it makes more sense. So let's go on to the next slide. So this is just to refresh our memory, right? This is the entity relationship diagram, the ERD we've been using so far for this SQL course. So you have the web events table, accounts table, orders, region, and sales rep. I won't go through this. We've done it a couple of times. So this is just showing you how the tables are connected. And this will help us to structure our queries when we run them. So let's see some subquery questions. So the first question here says, we should find the average number of events for each day for each channel. So we want to find the average number of events for each day for each channel. So we'll be working with the web events table, right? This table here. So we have to find the number of events for each day for each channel. So we need the channel column, right? The average for each channel. This occurred at the date column, the days, right? So what we'll do is we'll have to get the days, the number of orders, and then we'll find the average for each channel. So let's see how we can achieve this in SQL. So at this juncture, I'll navigate to my SQL Server Management Studio. And this is our database, right? Patch and pull the database. So I'll just open a new query editor, new query. And like I said, we're working with the web events table. So I'll just write a query to just show us what the query table looks like. Select star. So choose all the data from the web events table. So once I have this, I can execute just to see what the table looks like. So these are table. We have the ID column, we have the account ID or code ads, and then a channel. So we're asked to return the average number of events for each day for each channel, right? Let's just confirm the question one more time. So find the average number of events for each day for each channel. So here, what I can do is let's try to isolate the number of events for each day. And then we can now go on to filter for channels and then aggregate to get the average. Select so for each day, what I can do is let's use the format function. So I want to return the dates. That's the day. So this is showing you dates, right? And times the time also. I want just the dates. So I'm formatting the dates column. That's occurred at. Now to return the day. So I'll use year, month, and day. So give me the day. And then I also want the number of orders. So I'll do a count star. You're just counting number of rows. Every row is an event. Sorry, not orders, events, right? Number of events. So count the rows, right? For each day, count the rows, number of times that day appears. So count star. And I'll call this as number of events. And I'll choose from the web events table. And since we're aggregating, right, these accounts, count star, we need to use a group by. So we'll group by the so I'll just call this, use an alias as day. Yeah. So from events, and then I'll group by this day here, right? Group by the day. And I can order by also. I'll say order by the number of events in descending order from highest to lowest. So let's see what this gives me. So this is now our final result, right? But this will help us to get what we're looking for. So this is showing us the days. So for every day, showing us the count of number of events for each day. So now what I want is to get the average across every channel for each day. So let me edit this query slightly. So let's put a channel also, channel. So I want to return the channel and the days also. So channel means I'll group by channel also. So group by channel and this. So let's see what this shows me. So currently, right, our current result is showing us for each day number of events, right? So on the 21st of December 2016, we had 35 events. It's data, just like that, it's showing the number of events, right? But now I want to show for each channel for each day, what's the number of events. So let's execute and see. So for example, right, this day, you have 35 events. But these events, they are from different channels, right? It could be online, it could be Facebook, etc. Now I want to break this 35 now for each day. I want to show it how many channels. So maybe Facebook had 10, Twitter had 10, just like that, right? I want to break it down by channel now. So let me execute this query and let's see what it shows us. Yeah, cool. So you know what, let me take off the other bar so we can just see how this is broken down for each day. Yeah, cool. So for example, this is 2013 December 4th, right? And you can see you have 1, 3, we have 4 that's for this day. This is broken down. 1 occurred for the AdWords, 2 occurred for direct, and 1 for Facebook. This is the next day now, right? So you have 2 events for this day. 1 occurred AdWords, 1 occurred direct, just like that. So this is not the final result, but then we're making progress, right? So this is a query showing us all the events for the channels for a particular day. So now what I want to do is we want to isolate the channels and then find their averages. So what we'll do is we'll try to we'll treat this current results, this current query, right, as the inner query, as a subquery. We'll then write an outer query that helps us to isolate the channels and then the average, right? So let's do it this way. So I'll come on here and move this forward a bit. And I'll come at the top here and I'll write the query. So our final results should give us the channels and the averages, right? So I'll say select channel, comma, and then the average, right? Currently, this showing us the number of events, right? For each day for each channel. Now I want to get the average. So I'll choose channel and then average, right? Average function. What am I averaging now? I'm averaging the number of events. So for each channel, right, find the average of all the events here. So average, what's the column called? It's called NUM underscore events. So average of that column, right? Average of number of events. And I'll give it an alias. I'll say as average events. Right, select channel average of this as average events. And I'll put a from, right? So I'll say from, and from our earlier slide, right? You have to put the subquery in parentheses. So I'll put a parenthesis here, parenthesis, and also a parenthesis here too, at the end of the query, parenthesis. And since this is subquery, right? This is a subquery. This is an actual table. We'll give it an alias. So I'll call these you can call this so you can give it a name, right? That's intuitive. So currently this is giving us channel from really showing us the count of events, right? So you can just call this give it this table this table here, right? This table here, select channel, etc., etc. I want to give it an I give it a name. So I'll give it a name. I'll call these events table, right? Events table. So let me explain what we are doing currently, right? We have this result, this query first initially, and this gave us the results, right? The channel, the day, number of events. But our final result is to get the average, right? Get the average of each channel, the average for each channel. So we'll write an outer query that returns the channel and also the average of the events, right? That's what we have here now. Channel, average of events. From what? This inner query here. And since this is giving us what? Channel average, right? This is an aggregation average. We need to group by. So outside this inner query, we'll come down here, right? And then group by. So I'll say group by the channel, right? Channel. So once we have this, right, we can run the query. So currently I have the channel, the average from this inner query. I execute this. So this is showing us average is 114,111. So let me confirm if this is the accurate result. Give me a second. Yeah, so this checks out. So what we can do, you can just order by. So I would say order by average events descending. So I execute this. So this is the final result, right? So our question says return the average for each channel, right? The average number of events for each channel. So we're able to get what for direct, you have what 4 events on average, and the rest have 1 each. So to reiterate what we did, right? First of all, we tried to get a query that gave us the daily events, right, for each channel, right? So channel, day, and the count of events, right? And then now use this as the inner query. We try to reference the results, right? And then isolate just a channel and the average of the events. And that's what we have here now, which is this channel and average of events, right? So this is an example of a subquery, right? We are asked to get the average. And in our table, there's no average present. You just have what rows of data, right? So the first query gave us the channels and the count of events for each day. The outer query now gets the average of those counts and then groups it by the channel to give us the final result. So let's go to another question. So subqueries, right? They might look a bit complicated, but then when you attempt it, right, you practice, then it becomes easier. So the second question says, find only the orders that took place in the same month and year as the first order, and then pull the average of each type of paper quantity in the month. So let's go to the question again. It says, find only the orders that took place in the same month and year as the first order, and then pull the average for each type of paper quantity in this month. So the first things first, we'll try to get the very first order, right? What was the month and year for the very first order? So once we get that, then we'll then try to find the average of the different kinds of paper and then filter for where the date is equal to what the very first month. So let's try to achieve that in code. So I come to SSMS. So I'll make a new query because we'll still use this all these queries, we'll still use them when we are doing common table expression. So I'll make a new query. New query. So for this query, first things right. Our question says if you find the average of the different kinds of paper, where the month is equal to what? The very first order in our table. So let's look at the question one more time. Find only the orders that took place in the same month and year as the very first order, and then pull the average for each type of paper quantity in this month. So let's come back here and try to achieve this with code. So first things first, I want to get let's look at the table. So for this query, right, we're working with the orders table. That's where we have the different kinds of paper and their quantities, the orders table. So select, let's just do a preview of this. Select top 10 star from orders. Let's just do a preview and see what the table looks like. So I execute this. And this is what the orders table looks like, right? So you have the ID column, account ID, there's a date occurred at. Then these are the different paper types and their quantities. We have to find the averages, right, of these different paper types: standard average, gloss average, and poster average, where the order date is equal to what? The month and year of the very first order. So it means that the very first month we started selling papers, right? What's the average of standard, average of gloss, and average of poster? That's the summary of the question. So the first thing I want to do is to ask myself, how can I get the very first month that was sold the paper, right? What's the very first month? So for this, right, I'll just do a simple query. Select. So to isolate the month, right, I can use the format function, and I would say the date column, right, or call that. I want to return just the year and month, the year and the month, right? So in quotes, I'll type in year, and then the month, right? And I'll just give it an area as month from the orders table. So this will give us all the months, right? All the months. So that's all the months. These are all the months. But now I want to get what was the months of the very first order? The very first order. So what I can do now is I'll try to use the main function, right? So give me what's the minimum date in the table? What's the very first date, right? So I'll say what? Put min before the date. This now will return what? The earliest date. And that is equal to what? The very first order. So I'm saying what? Return the month, right? Of the very first order. That's what I'm doing currently. So I execute this. Okay, I need to put one bracket here, I think. Format mean of a code at format mean of a code at it says incorrect syntax near occurred at mean of a code at format function. Mean of a code at format function. I don't know. This should work now. Yeah, so this is the minimum month, right? December 2013. This is the month of the very first order, 2013. So I've been able to get the month, right, of the very first order. So now we'll try to get the average, right? So all the orders that occurred in this month, all the orders that occurred in this month, how can we isolate those orders? So what I can do is first, I'll just show us how to return all the others, and then I can now just filter for the average of the different paper types. So I'll just move this tab, move it forward, right? So it'll be easier to read. So select, I can just, let's return the whole table. So select star. So let me show you that it's accurate. So confirm, right, the dates, December 2013, right? So select star from orders. Where the month, right? So say where the month is equal to what? This result here. This result, right? This whole query is what? This month, December 2013. So we say where the month, that's simply what? Format. So now we don't need to use mean, right? Just go through the whole month in the orders table, and then return those that match what this month here, December 2013. So formats are called as months, right? So no, yeah, and then months. So select star from others where the month, right, in the others table is equal to. So basically, where it matches what the result from this query. That's what we're doing, right? So I hope this makes sense to you. So you're saying, look at the others table, right? And return only the results where the months matches what result of this query, which is what December 2013, right? So when I execute this, I expect to have only months that match what December 2013. Look at our results, right? All the months 12 2013, 12 2013. So these are all what December 2013, right? That's all 99 rows, right? That's in the end of the table. So you see that it's only showing what the result for was December 2013. So it means that this is working, right? But our question says return the average of the different paper types, right? So instead of returning the whole rows, I'll just say what return the average. So average, that's AVG, average of the different paper types. So I'll say what's the first type? Standard quantity QTY. I'll say as average standard. So this is one paper type. And then let's do average of the poster paper type. Let me confirm this. It is the actual quantity, gross quantity. Yeah, that's correct. So total quantity as average poster. And lastly, average of gross quantity as average gross. From the other table. So when you're saying, instead of returning the whole table, right, return these values, return the average of standard, average of post, average of gross from other table, where most, right, in other table is equal to what the result from here, which is December 2013, basically. So once I have this, right, I can execute and see my result execute. And you can see, right, for the standard paper, the average in the first month, right, is 268. For poster paper, the average is 111. and for gloss, the average is 208. Been able to use subqueries, right? So instead of hard coding, right? Normally, when you're doing one query, you can just hard code your results, right? But now we've made this dynamic. Even if your table updates in the future, right? It still what shows you what's the result for what's the average paper types for the very first month. So these is right to answer that question. So let's go on to the next question. So this is, what is the lifetime average amount spent in terms of total amount USD for the top 10 total spending accounts? What is the lifetime average amount spent in terms of total amount USD for the top 10 total spending amounts? So for this, right, basically what I'm trying to do is first get the top 10 accounts, right? The top 10 accounts by total amount USD. So what are the top 10 guys that spends the most money, right, across all the others? Once we have this top 10 guys, we'll then try to find the average amount of this top 10 guys. So what's the lifetime average amount for the top 10 guys, basically, what we are trying to do. So let's go to SQL Server Management Studio and see how we can answer this. So I'll make a new query for this. New query. So first things first, we want to get the top 10 guys, right? So for this, let me see if you're asked to show the account's name. I doubt. Top 10. So we can use the account's ID. Let me see. Yeah, we can use the account's ID. Oh, you know what? Let's join the accounts table to the others to go and answer this question. So for this, I'll come on here and select. Let's just get the top 10 guys first, and then we'll try to use that to answer the final question. So select from the account table, a account table dot name. So the name, this is the account name, right? Name of the account, a dot name. So a is account table, name is the name column. And what else? I also want to return the total orders, right? Spent from the other. So sum of O, that other table, dot total amount USD. Yeah. So I will join the orders table to the accounts table to return our final results. So I'll say from the orders table, orders O, that's the alias, join accounts A, as the alias. And how are they joined? On a.id is equal to o.accounts ID. And since these are an aggregation, right, we need to group by this sum. So we'll group by the account name. So I'll say group by account name. And we can also order by, so let me call this as total spent. All right. So order by total spent in descending order from highest to lowest, right? So when I execute this, I expect to have the account names. So let me give you an alias. It's showing name currently. Let me call his account as accounts and execute this. So instead of name, let's have account show up there. So accounts and then the total spent. So this shows currently the accounts total spent, right? In descending order. This is the highest account, right? But now I want the top 10. So I want to stop here. We don't need the rest. So I'll come on here and I'll add what's the top 10 clause, right? So select top 10, right? Just return the top 10. Don't return everybody. Just the top 10 what I want. So execute this. And our result is now narrowed down to the top 10 guys. This is the account name. This is the total spent. So the next step, right, is to get what's the average amount now for these 10 guys. As well want. What's the average for these 10 guys? Right. So this is straightforward, right? So we'll treat this as the inner query, the subquery. So I'll put it in parentheses, right? I'll give you an alias. You can call this top 10. Top 10 customers, yeah. So that's alias, right? Top 10 customers. So once we return the average, let me just use a tab to move this. So tab, move this here. So I'll come on here and just isolate the average of what this column, right? So once you just get the average of this column for this guy, what's the average amount spent for this top 10 guys? So it's just straightforward. So I'll come on here and say select the average, right? Average of what this column, total spent column. That's our solution. So average of total spent. And give an alias, right, as average top 10 customers, right, from what this table. So what we are saying in essence is what return the average of what this column from this table, right? From this table here, is what we're trying to do. Return the average of the total spend column from this table here. So once we have this, right, execute. So you can see, right, the average is what 304,846.9690000. And if you want to, you can round that down, right? But then this, the solution to the question, right? So first things first, we get the top 10 guys, right? This straightforward top 10 guys. Once you get this, we then treat this as a subquery, put it in parentheses, and then use an main query, right? The alpha query. So what isolates the average of total spent and return that here as a result. So I hope this makes sense to us. So let's go on to the next question. So this says, what is the lifetime average amount spent in terms of total amount USD? So it's similar to the previous question, but then this now says, including only the companies that spent more per order on average than the average of all others. So basically you're saying return the average, right, of all the customers that spent above average. So what we'll do is we'll first get what's the average of all the orders in our table. Once we get that, we'll now try to find what the people that spent above the average. So if, for example, the average is $10, right? We'll try to what? Return all the customers that spent above $10. Once we find those guys, we'll now find their own average, right? What's the average of the guys that spent more than the total average? That's what we're trying to do. So for these, right, we'll try to break it in steps. First things first, right? What's the average of all the others? Get that table. So I'll make a new query. And here, right, we'll try to get what's the total average across all the others. This is straightforward, right? Select average of what's the total amount USD, right? As just call this average of all the others, right? From the others table. So this is straightforward, right? What's the average of all the others, basically? So I execute this. And this is the average, right, of all the others, 3,348. So now we want to be asking ourselves, right, what's the average of all the customers that spent above this amount, 3,348, right? What's the average of this guy? So I'll treat this as my inner query or my subquery. I'll put a parenthesis here. I'll put one here, and I can use a tab to move it. So I'll come on here, right? So we want to return, first things first, let's return all the, what are all the others that are above average, right? So select, what are all the others that are above average? So select, let's do account ID. And let's do the actual order, right? The actual average of the orders. So for each account, right, their averages. So average of, so what we're doing is, right, currently we have the current average, right, of all the orders. Now I want to return all the accounts that spent more than this average, right? And their averages. So these accounts spend more than the average. I'll return the accounts and return the average of the accounts, right? That way we can confirm and see that, okay, that average is actually above 3,348, right? So let's note this number, 3,348. Our result set, right? All those accounts should have what above what 3,348. It means that we are on the right path. So I'll come on here and say select the account ID, right? And then the average of the total amount USD column. So we'll give it as, we could ignore this, right? So we'll come on here from the others table. So here, right, in the previous section, right, we looked at aggregation and we saw that when you're trying to filter on aggregates, right, the where clause does not work. You have to use the having clause, right, to filter on aggregates. So we want to return accounts and averages where the average is above what's the total average across all the others. So here we'll use what the having clause, right? So return the accounts and averages from the others table that are having averages, right? That has the average amount USD greater than, right, these amounts here. I know this makes sense to you. So you're saying this result here, right? returns what? All the average across all others. Now we are saying return the accounts and the average for each what account, where or that or having, right? So for aggregations, right? Everything aggregations, the where clause does not work. You have to use the having clause, right? So return accounts and average of the accounts that have their averages above what these amounts here, 3,348, which is the average of all the others, right? So once we have this, right, we can execute this. And I expect to see all the averages above 3,348. So let's execute and see if it checks out. Execute this. Let's see what the error is. It says column others or account ID is invalid in the select list because it's not. Okay, yeah. We need to group by. Apologies. So since we are aggregating, right, average, we need to group by. So I'll come and say group by. So you know that what's group comes before the having clause, right? So I'll say group by the account ID. Yeah. So this should work now. Execute. Yeah, awesome. So I will give an areas as average amount. Yeah. So if you check, right, all these values should be above what 3,000. I think 578. That's the amount, right? So you look here, seeing what um so you're seeing 4,000. You know what? Let's order by. So we're sure that the results match. Order by average amount. So just to confirm, this is the list average, right? 3,348.725. Let's confirm again what the average was from this. What was the average of all the others? From others, execute. So that was 3,348, right? 3,348. But currently, right, these are query. The list order is what? 3,348.725. So it's slightly, right, above the average. And when you go down, right, it increases downwards. So this checks out, right? All the results here, they are all above average. So this is the second step in our query, right? But we're not done yet. Our question says we should find what the average of all these guys, right? These guys are above the average now. What is the overall average of these guys? So just to confirm, right? Back to the question, says what is the lifetime average amount spent in total amount USD for only companies that spent more on average than the average of all others? So currently we've been able to isolate the companies that spent above average. Now the next step is what? Find the overall lifetime average of those guys that are above average. So back to SSMS, right? This is straightforward. What we'll do is we just come on here and so we'll treat this as another subquery tab, right? So notice something, right? This subquery here, this one here, right? I didn't put an alias because it's just one result that it returns, right? 3348 or thereabouts. But this result here now, right? It returns a table, right? More than one row. So for this, we need to give it what an alias, right? So note that very important. If the software returns just one row, then you need to give it an alias. But if it returns more than one row, right? Like a table, then you have to give it an alias. So I'll come on here and I'll call this above average. Above average amount, right? So our final query is just to get the average, right? Select average of what this column, right? What's the average of this column? Average amount. Average of what? The average amount. That's this. Average of average amount. From this table down here, right? So that's all, right? What's the average of this table here? So I execute this. So let me see what's showing us. The order by clause is invalid in views inline. Yeah, let's take off the order by. We don't need it. So I'll take it off. We just use it to validate that our values they are above average, right? So we can take that off. So that's average, guys, right? 4,721.139,743. So this is the average of the guys that are above average, 4,721. So I hope this makes sense to us. So let's go on to the next question. So in case something not clear to you, you can type in the chat. I'll try to attend to it. So let's go on to the next question. So this says provide the name sales rep in each region with the largest amount of total amount USD sales. Provide the name of the sales rep in each region with the largest amount of total amount USD sales. So this table involves a lot of joins, right? So sales rep, that's sales rep table. Region, that's the region table. And amount USD, that's the orders table. So for this, I'll just go back to the diagram, right? So let's see what we're trying to do. So we'll need the sales rep table, need the region table, and also the orders table. And you can see sales reps and region have a direct connection, right? However, for others to join these two tables, we need to use what the connection between orders and account, and then sales rep to account. So sales rep and orders, they are indirectly connected, right, via the accounts table. It means that for our query, we'll join orders to account, join account to sales rep, join sales rep to region, before we can then what get our final results. So I hope that helps to understand what we're trying to do. So let's go on to SSMS and try to, but before I go there, let's try to look at the question one more time. So it says the name of the sales rep in each region with the largest amount of total amount USD sales. So you have, I think you have 4 regions, right? In those 4 regions, what's the name of the sales rep that had the highest amount of USD? So in North, who's the person that had the highest? In South, who's the person that had the highest? Just like that. So we have 4 names, right? 4 names, 4 regions, 4 amounts in USD. So let's go back to SSMS, and I'll make a new query for this also. New query. So I come on here, and first, I'll try to return all the sales rep, all the regions, and all the amounts in USD. So I'll do say select statement, select. So sales rep, right? So that's the sales rep table. Let's use S for the alias, S dot. So the name column that has the sales rep name, S dot name. And for the region also, right? Their regions, R dot name also, that has the region name. And lastly, we just sum up the total amount USD column in the others table. So O dot total amount USD as total amount. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to return the sales rep name, the region for that sales rep, and the total amount that rep had sold, right, up until this time period. So like I said, right, we'll join orders to accounts, account to sales rep, and then sales reps to region based on the ARD I showed us earlier. So I would say from orders table O, join accounts A on, so A the ID, right, is equal to O the account ID. That's how they are joined together. And then we'll join accounts to sales rep, right? I'll say join sales rep S. And how are they joined? They are joined on sales rep.id is equal to accounts.sales rep ID. And lastly, we'll join region. So join the region table alias R on, so you're joined by the region ID, R.id is equal to the sales rep.region ID. So all these rights, if you add the ALD, once you look at the ALD, you know how they are joined together. So this, I think we have our joined together, right? So currently we're aggregating, right? This is a sum. So it means that we need to group by what? The sales rep name and the region name. So I'll come down here and do a group by. I'll say group by S.name and R.name. And you can decide to order by, right? But then, like I said, order by is not important in subquery. So I'll just know that when you're trying to validate and see something, you can order by, right? But now, just execute this. So currently, this showing us all the sales rep. You know what? We have two names. Let us use aliases. So S name as sales rep and R name as region. So we have a cleaner result. Yeah. So sales rep, region, and total amount in other sales, right? So this is sales rep name. So their region. These are what the amount they've sold. So remember our final our end goal, right, is to what for each region. For example, in the Midwest region, right, which sales rep had the highest sale? In Southeast, which sales rep had the highest sale? In West, same thing. In North is the same thing, right? Currently, this table is showing us all the sales reps, all their regions, and all their amounts. So how can we filter this table to just get the sales rep that has the highest for each region? So for example, you might say, let's order the table, right, by the sum, and then choose top four. But then that's not what you're trying to do, right? The top four can be in just one region. It's very possible. But they want to just find out what for each region who's the top guy, right? So that approach will not work. Just to show you what I mean, we can try it, right? Select top four, and I'll come here and say order by this column, right? Of this in descending order. Let's try it and see what it gives us. Order by this column in descending order. So these are the top four guys, right? Ellie, Tia, Venita, blah. But you can see that what these two guys are from the same region, right? So among the top four, two are from one region. This one is from Northeast. But then it's very possible that all four will be in one region. Very possible. But this is not what we want. We want to just see for Southeast, who's the top guy, Northeast, top guy, West, top guy, and then East, the top guy there, right? We're trying to do. So let's I'll just take this off. We don't need this other guy. I'll take off the top four also. I don't need that also. So currently I have what? I have all the sales rep, their regions, and total amount they've sold, right? So now what I want to do is I want to isolate the regions, right? So I want to get what for each region, what's the top, what's the top order for each region. So I'll use the subquery. I'll try to isolate what's the regions and then the amount. So let me just execute this one more time. So currently, this is what our query returns, right? All the sales reps, their regions, and the amounts. Now I'll try to get the region, right? And then summarize or group the region, right? Based on what the amounts in USD, the maximum amounts in USD. So what I'll aim to get is what? For Midwest, what's the maximum amount? Who's the highest guy? For Southeast, who's the highest guy? For West, who's the highest guy, etc. And how can I achieve that? So I'll treat this as a subquery, hit a tab, and I'll put this in parentheses. And since it's a table, right, I'll give it an alias. So I'll say all orders like this here, orders, yeah. And then I'll just take this down. I'll come on here and do a subquery, right? So for my subquery, sorry, for my main query, right, I'll return the region and then the maximum, right? The max value from what total amount. So return region and the max of what total amount. And I can say what as max amount. And since this is an application, right? This is a max application, this region, right? I'll need to group by. So I'll come down here and I'll group by the region. From this subquery, right? Then group by region. So what I'm doing is what I'm returning what's the region names and what's the max for each region. And that corresponds to what's the highest sale for each region, right? So let's see the results and let's see if that checks out. So execute this. And you can see, right? Currently I'm seeing what's each region, Midwest, Northeast, Southeast, and West, right? And I'm seeing what's the max amount. So this is the max for the Midwest, right? The highest sales rep, this is sale he made. The Northeast guy, this is sale he made. Southeast made a sale, and West made a sale. But these are our final results, right? We also want to get the name of the sales rep. So currently we have the region and the maximum, but the question says what? Provide the name of the sales rep, right? So for us to get the name now, right? We have to do a join, right? So currently this table has what's the region name and the max amount. While this table here, right? This table here contains all the sales reps, all the regions, and the total amount. So let me show something Let me show something. So let me isolate this table. Let me bring this table out here. Yeah, cool. So this query here, right, gives us what all the regions and their max amounts, right? While this very first query we wrote, right, it returns what all the sales reps, all their regions, and their sales amounts, right? So now what we can do is we'll try to join this table, right? This first table on this second table. So we can guess what the sales rep name. So what we'll do is right, we'll say join this first table, right? This table here. Join this first table on the second table. Where the region, so where the region and the region here match, and also where the amount here and the amount here match, right? So let me order this table. Order by sum of all the total amount CSD. What I'm doing will make more sense when I do this. DST indicates. Yeah, cool. So we're trying to get the names right. So we'll say we'll join this first table on the second table here, where the region and region here match, and also where the amount here and the amount here they match also, right? So if you look very well, for example, this value, right, 10, this very first value, 1098137.72 is the exact same thing with the value here, right? The value here. Region also southeast also the exact same thing what southeast here. So when we join these two tables, right, where the region and amounts match the region and amount here, we'll get what the sales rep guide name, Elishira, right? Same thing too. If you check this second guy here, right, 1010690, the exact same thing here too. 101. So we'll mark this on this region on region, right? And we're able to get what the name Tia Amato. This same guy also writes 886244. West this, right? When we join, we'll get the person's name. And lastly, right, for southeast, we've done southeast. Then you have what Midwest. So what was the very first Midwest here? I have to scroll down to see the very first Midwest here. Yeah, this. So 675637 Midwest, right? That's this guy here. 675637, yeah, Midwest. So we'll join this query on this query where the region and the amount match. That way we're able to get what's the sales rep name, right? So we'll treat this as a subquery also. Then we'll join this table now, right? On this table here for us to get what the sales rep name. So this table, give it an alias, right? We'll call this as, what do we call this now? Let's call this region sales. Yeah, region sales. Yeah, that makes sense. Region sales. And this one, right? I think we call this one all others, right? All others. So we'll join this table and this table. Join. Table, okay. So once we return the sales rep name, I select. So once the sales rep name, select sales rep name. We also want the region too, and then the amount in USD. Lastly, so these region sales. This table, what do we call it? So we'll treat this as a subquery. So tab, and I'll go back here. Sure. So I don't need this order by. So I'll go back here. And let's call this as all orders. Okay, I think I used that here. Let me use something else for this table. So the exact same query, I call it orders all. So these region sales, these orders all. We are joining region sales to orders all, right? For us to get the sales rep name. So select, so we return the sales rep name from this table, right? So I would say select orders all dot sales rep, right? This is the common name sales rep here. Orders all dot sales rep. So orders all dot sales rep, and also return orders all dot region name as this, right? Region name also. So orders all dot sales rep, orders all the region name. And lastly, we'll return the total amount in USD, right? That's this total amount. I'll come on here and copy these also. Let me make this clean. So it's great to format your queries, so it's easier to read. So orders all that's the amount from, yeah. So return this from what? These are very first subquery, right? Region sales, and we'll join this on what? This initial query, what? The orders all query, right? And then we'll join where the region and the total sales match, right? So we'll join this how on. So ignore everything you're seeing here, right? Just assume you're joining what? Two tables, region sales, join region sales on what? On what? Orders all, right? Where their columns match. That's what we're trying to do. So say on, so where this sales, where the region name, right? Where orders all the region name on orders all, others all, the region name. So call the what? Okay, call the region as region. You can find something. Okay, yeah. So this is region, not region name. Apologies. Region, not region name. So that's all the region is equal to the exact same column in this first table here, right? So these others all region sales of column region also. Region sales of region is equal to region sales the region and others all the amount, right? The amount also matches, right? The whole amount is equal to region sales dot max amount. So this is the final query, right? So SQL query can get really complicated, right? But we'll go to the next concept, that's with statements, right? That's common table expressions. They help you to simplify subqueries. So your query becomes shorter and cleaner with CTEs. We'll get to that in a bit. So once I have this right, I can execute this query. Let's see the final result. Cool. So if you look very well, right, the same results we got initially. But if we want, we can order these results, right? So sending order. Exactly this. Yeah, yeah, let's look at what we have. Um, that's supposed to work actually. Then this is actual result, right? The different region, the west region, this is a max guy, this is the name. Southeast, this is a max guy, this is the name. Northeast, this is max amount, this is the name. And last, the Midwest, this is the max amount, this is the name. So this was quite complicated, but then once you get the logic, right, just taking your time to get the actual code behind it. But the logic is the main thing. So you try to take it step by step, right, and then join it together. So this last one, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for the region with largest sales to amount yearly, how many total orders were placed for the region that had the largest amount in dollars? How many total orders were placed? So for this, right, first things first, we'll try to get the regions and the amount in dollars, right? So once we get this, we'll then try to so the one that had the highest orders, yeah, we'll try to isolate the region that had the max orders. And once we do that, we'll now count the number of orders. So let's try to break it down. First of all, we get the regions and the amount in dollars. Once we have this, we'll then try to get the region on one column, amount in USD on one column. So we can try to get the region with the max amount. Once we isolate that, we then count the orders for that region. Yeah. So first things you get, what's the region with the largest amount in USD? You get that region. Example is West, you get that region. And then you count the number of orders for that region. I think that's what we're trying to do. So I think we can do this in two ways. We can do a top one to get the max largest sales for the region, and then use that towards filter and get the orders. Or we can just do a max. Either we use a top one or use a max. So let's write the query. I think I'll use a max to solve this. So let's make a new query for this. New query. So first thing first, we want to get the regions and the amount in USD. So from what we did earlier, right? We'll join regions to sales, we'll join regions to sales rep to account orders, or did I orders to account to sales rep to region. So select, once you get the region name, I will do name as region. We also want to get the total amount in USD. So sum old, that's table, all the total amount in USD. USD as total amount. And then we can do our joining. So I'll say from others table or join accounts table A on a.id equal to o.account ID. Join sales reps S on s.id equal to a.salesrep ID. And lastly, join the region table on r.id equal to s region ID. Yeah, cool. Once we have this, I can then do a put by. So group by, since we are summing, right? Group by the region, group by region name. So execute this. So currently we have all the regions and the amount in USD. So next thing, I want to get the region so our question, right? The region that had the max amount in USD, what does count for that region? So what we can do is ask ourselves, what is the what's the max amount in USD, right? So we'll treat this as a subquery. We're trying to isolate the max amount, right? From this table now, we want to get the max amount in USD. So I'll treat it as a subquery. I do a tab and I put this in parentheses. And since it's more than one row, right? I'll do it an alias. So I'll call this region sales. So I'll just return the max amount. Select max of this column, total amount, right? Max of total amount. max amount from this table here. So this should give us the max, right? So the max here, I think, is the very first one, 7 million, 774, 7744405. 7,744,405. I think that's a max. That's a max. So let's keep this. Yeah, cool. 7,744,405. So this is a max amount, right? So we'll try to now find what the count for the region that had this amount. So this is like what we're filtering by, right? We'll try to get the region, the count of orders, where the amount is equal to what this value here, 774,405. So we'll treat these as a subquery. Please in bracket. So for these, I have to put it. I have to put an alias, right? It's just one row that that the results giving me. So no need for an alias. I'll come on here. So our question says, for the region that had the highest amount, so that amount we have currently, right, 7744. For the region with that amount, how many orders were placed, right? So the query right now is to count the number of orders for the regions where the amount in USD is equal to what this amount here, basically. So if you get the logic right, we'll just do a normal query that shows what the regions and the count of all their orders. But then we'll now say what shows the result only where the amount in dollars for the region is equal to what this value. So it's equal to what this query here, basically, they're trying to do. So I'll come on here and I would say, well, just did now, right? I just copy this query. We'll just tweak it. Instead of sum, we'll now count. Copy the same query, I'll bring it here. But instead of sum now, right? We'll count. Let me zoom in. So instead of sum, right? What's the count of orders for the count of orders? Count the rows, count of star as order counts from orders, right? Join. So here, right? What we'll now do is we'd say having in this area here. So say give us a name and give us the region and the count of orders, right? Where so having right the sum of amounts in USD. So having these amounts, right? Equal to what this value here. So I don't know if it makes sense to you, right? So our question says for the region that had the max order, how many orders, right, did it amount to? So this query here, right, is showing us what the maximum amount in for the region, right? The region with the max amount in dollars had this value here, 7744405. So now we now have what this query will give you, right? That query will give you. Let me just execute the query. So this query will give you all the regions, right, and the accounts. Let me execute it. This query will give you all the regions, right, and their other accounts. Which is this, right? North is this. But now we don't know which one had the max amount in dollars, right? That's where this line now comes in. We'll now see for all these regions, right? Just show us the result of the one where the amount in dollars, right, is equal to what the value we got earlier. That's 77444 value, right? So having the amount in dollars equal to what this query here. So once we have this, right, can execute and see the final results. Execute. So you see it's what the Northeast region, right, with 2357 others that have the map results. So let us see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 star. Of course, time. I'll just keep the long question. Go on to common table expressions. So we can cover this and then wrap up. So CTEs, right, or common table expressions, is a temporary named result set or a temporary table, right, that you can reference within a select, insert, update, or delete statement. So they are just like virtual tables, right? So each CT is like a name query whose result is stored in a virtual table to be referenced later in the main query. So CT is right, they exist just within that query you're creating, right? It's like you're creating a virtual table and you can then reference that table to return a result, right? So we'll see examples in a bit. So the syntax, right? You have a width that starts the CTE with then your CTE name as you can now put your query right in parentheses. This query in this bracket now that is your CTE. You can then reference this query now in what's subsequent queries. So this is like a virtual table you're creating, and you can then use this table right for other queries to return the results you want. So we'll see examples in a bit. So this won't take much time, right? Because we use the exact same queries for our subqueries. So our exercise now is trying to convert the subqueries right into CTEs. The exact same questions we just answered now, right? The exact same questions we answered for the subqueries, right? The exact same questions. We're assigning those also for the CTEs. So if you notice, right, the subqueries, they can get quite messy, quite long and hard to read and follow. So the CTE now, they will help you to make your query like cleaner to read. That's one good thing about CTEs. It makes your queries cleaner to read. So I'll start with the very first query, right? Let's try to convert it to a CTE. This 7, this 6. I think query 1 or 2 that I'm looking for. I think 2. Yeah, this query 2. This is the first query we wrote, right? That gave us the average for each channel. Yeah, this is a query. So we want to convert this to a CTE, right? It says what? Find the average number of events for each day for each channel. So we've already solved this right with a subquery. But now let's convert this now to a CTE. Right. So here what I'll do is this subquery, right? This subquery here, we'll convert this to a CTE and we'll then reference the CTE to return our final result, which is this. So for this, I'll bring this for this, right? Okay, let's do this way. So you follow what I'm doing. So instead of the brackets, right? I don't need the brackets. I want this also. So note, right? This query here is subquery initially, right? So I'll isolate this. I'll just cut this. I'll cut this and bring it somewhere down here. Right. So this was our initial subquery, right? So this give us the channels, months, and the count of the orders. Right, so execute this. So give us the channel, the days order, and the other numbers, right? This is what we then use to get what the average is, right, for each channel. So now instead of a subquery, what we'll do is we'll use a CTE, right? So I'll come on here and say width. Please see next line. So I'll say width, and then you put your CTE name, right? Like a table name. So it's CTE name, right? Width. So we'll call this with all events, right? With all events as right. Then your CT will be in a bracket, right? So we can put a bracket that contains our CTE. So I can do it tab, right? My CTE, and then I'll close the bracket for the CTE. So basically, right, this query now, right, this query here will now act like a table that's called what? All events, right? Like a virtual table called all events. So everything here now, this whole result, right? This whole query, this channel column, day, normal events, is now like saved within this query, right? It's a table called what? All events. I can now reference this all events table, right? In what subsequent queries here in this tab. So wow, this is my CT, right? My common table expression, this. So I'll then come somewhere below this, right? And I want to return the channel and the average, right? So I'll come on here and choose this result, Control C. So I'll say select the channel and the average, right? So select channel, this channel column for my all events table, right? Select channel and what's the average of what's of events from where now? For my CT table called what? All events, right? So I'm trying to do. So select the channel and average of the events from all events table, and the exact same thing as before, right? We'll group by channel. That's the average. So we'll group by channel and order by what's average events in descending order. Group by channel, order by so take all this offline. These are subquery, right? So what we did now, right, was just the very first subquery we had. We now turn it to a virtual table, right? The subquery had initially. So you with your CT table name as you now enclose the subquery in a bracket, right? Then you can now reference this name now, this CT name, right? In subsequent question, I can say select the channel column, right, which is this, and the average of what's this column number of events, right? Average of this from my CT table, all events table, right? Group by the channel and order by what's this column here in descending order. When I execute this, right, we'll get the let me see what's the error coming from. So it says incorrect syntax near the keyword from. So if I arrange my events as events from all events, group by channel, order by events, and another. What's the error? Okay. Yeah, so that's the result, right? Channel, right? So you see the exact same results for and here you can see what the query looks cleaner, right? Compared to the subquery. So this looks a bit cleaner. So you can see, right? You have your CTE, and next you now have what the query that references your CTE to get the final result. So let's look at the next question, right? Find only the orders that took place in the same month and year as the first order, and then put the average for each type of paper quantity in this month. So for this, right, I'll go back to my SSMS and try to isolate. I think that's really the top query, right? So that's two, these two. So query three, that's this. Yeah, this query. So once you get the average, right, for the orders that happened in the very first month. So these are subquery, right? Select this gave us um the month, right, for the very first order. And we now use this, right, in our main query to get the results. So let's try to create a CT for this also. So I can say with, so what we'll call this, let's call this, what will I give this now? So I'll give this um minimum months, right? Minimum months, think that works. So I'll say with minimum months as, so you put a bracket, and then I'll put this query there as this. Let me just copy. I'm not just copy this Control V. So I close the bracket. Moment as select format name. This from others. I'll close the bracket. And what I'll do, I'll now reference this, right? So I can now say select average. Where all this is equal to the minimum months. So this is my CTE. Minimum month as this. This column called. It's called. So I need to give this a column name actually. I'm not really mount this. months. Other, see minimum months. Is a table name, right? So I'll give you the column name, the month. I think for this particular example, month is a built-in function. So just call it month name. For example, I think Subqueries is better alternative. I think it's also equally for those. The minimum month as this. So let me see. So I think this giving us just one row. We minimum month as this. Select format this and then from other. So when I execute this, let's see. Execute month name 23.12. So I say choose this from others. Select this from others. Where this is equal to minimum month dot month name. Let me try this will happen, see if it works. So this. This question I think is best as a subquery, right? But then let's just do a hack and see if it works. Control V. So I think for this example, it's best to use it as a subquery because the idea is that your CTE, right, would be the base where you extract your data from. But in this example, what we are doing is we are what we are doing is we are using the table as a filter, right? So for this, for the CTE, what's best to do is we could just use the others table, and then that will be one CTE. We'll then do another CTE where we extract the minimum month, and then use that to feed into the very last query. But that would be like overkill. So for this particular example, we are filtering for just one row. It's best to just stick to a subquery. A CTE is not best for this example. So I'll just go on to the next question because of time. For the second example, right, just one row of filtering, and it's best to just stick with a subquery for that. So this question says lifetime average amount. So I'll come back here quickly. It should be query 4. So come on here, query 4. So we want to convert this query to a CTE. So this subquery here, right? I'll extract this. Let me zoom in. So I'll extract this query here, and this would be our CTE. So I'll come down here and see with so we can call this top 10 customers as, and I'll put my query here and close the bracket. And then we can now choose our main query, right? So choose this, select this. So I'll say select this from what our city name, right? Please top 10 customers. So from top 10 customers. Yeah. So once I have this, I can execute the query. So 304,846. The exact same result, right? 304,846. So this is converting this, right? This query up here. We just change this towards a CTE, right? Let's go to the next question. Question 4. What is the lifetime average amount spent in dollars? So this should be query 5. More per order on average. So come on here. Query 5. So this would be our CTE. Select this from this from this. So we'll call our CTE. Have the same name with this one here. So it's with above average amount as, open a bracket, paste the query there, and then close the brackets basically. And then we can then select the same stuff, right, from our CTE. So select average amount, and give it a name as average amount from this table here, right? Above average amount, like our virtual table, our CTE from this. So once we have this, we can execute. near the word as. Okay, I have this choice. That's not common. So execute this. So 4721.13. Compare that with the result here, should be the same thing. Yeah, the exact same thing. So you're able to convert this query here, right, to a CTE with statement to our CTE, and then we then choose our query, right? We will reference the CTE above average amount, right? Above average amount. So this value here is what's gotten from this whole query here. It's now like saved like a virtual query, right? I can then choose values from what's that table. So select the average of this column from what's the CT here, and I get my results. So let's go on to the next question. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 2 more to go. So it says provide the name of the sales rep in each region with the highest amounts here the sales. So we've already done the main work, right? So just to structure the CT. So on to query 6 in this instance. So for this, we'll have multiple CTEs for this example. So let's see what we're doing. So for this, we use 3 different tables for this, right? So it means we'll have 2 different CTEs, and then the main query that references the 2 CTEs. So let me start with this one at the bottom. So give me a second. Let me take this value here. So I'll copy this query here. So this query, right, is the exact same thing as the query here. They're the same thing, right? The exact same thing. So I'll copy that query. I'll use it as my first CTE. So I'll say with orders or as. I put a bracket. Now paste that query here. I don't need the as anymore. Just need some close the bracket. Okay, I made a mistake. This is really the query ended here. So with others all, select this, right? So this query is basically my first CTE, others all. So with others all as this, right? And then so where you have multiple CTEs, right? If you look at the previous one we've done, it's just one CTE and then your actual query that references the CTE. But here you're having multiple CTEs, right? So you put commas between the CTEs. This is my first CTE, or that's all, right? So I'll put a bracket. Sorry, I put a comma before I write the next CTE. So I'll put a comma and I'll do the next CTE, right? With so here I would use this query up here, region sales. As this, right? Region sales as my second CTE, as this whole query here, right? Region sales. I'll use that as my second CTE. So that's the region name, max and max amount, right? But then if you look what we did here, right? So we selected the region, the max amount from what? From this query here, right? And this query here is the exact same thing that is in our first CTE, right? Or that's all, the exact same thing. So we don't need to repeat this whole query again, right? Not repeat this whole query again. I'll just take away this part, select region, max amount from, I'll then reference our CTE, right? So with region sales, region underscore sales, region underscore sales as, so I put a bracket, I'll come on here and I'll paste what I copied, right? Select region, maximum amount as max amount from, so no, like I said, right, this whole query is the exact same thing that you're seeing here, right? So in this context, right, it's a perfect example of how CTs make your query cleaner. If you look at this subquery, right, we repeated this query twice. This query here is the exact same thing that we have down here also. The exact same thing here also. But with CTEs, right, we can avoid that repetition. We just reference what's the first CTE. So instead of copying that whole query, I'll just say from, I'll then type in the CTE name, or that's all. Since others all is the same thing what as that whole query there, right? So I'll type in others all here from others all. So select the region. So apologies, the width is not needed. The second CT, right? You ignore the width. If you have .ct, just comma and the CT name. Width is just once it appears in CT, right? So the first CT has a width. The next CT, right? Just put the CT name and then put your queries, right? So this second CT is region sales as what? Choose the region, marks this from what? This whole query, right? And this is now what's known as what? Others all, CT others all. So my second CT, I close the bracket, right? So I think that's all for the CTEs. We can now what? Try to return these values, right? These values referencing our two CTEs. So I'll say select this column, select others all or sales rep, others all dot region, others all the amount. So I'll come down here, select others all dot sales rep, others all dot region, others all dot amount from, and using this, right, we reference what the second CTE. So we joined from our original query, right? We joined this table, right? This region sales, we join region sales, join region sales to what? Well, that's all, right? Let's see, join here. We joined region sales, so that's all. The exact same thing we do here also. So select all that from what we can say, oh, that's all. Oh, that's all, right? Can read an alias if you want to, right? See, that's all. Oh, for example, join region sales are right on. How do we join again? We joined on what? Oh, that's all the region, right? Is equal to region sales or region, and others all the amount is equal to region sales or amount. Just copy this. before we do that, I'm missing something. So this is region and these marks of this, right? So this is an aggregation. We need to group by before we close the CTE. So from this, so we'll group by the region, group by region. Yeah. So here, right? We just join this. We on and I paste us on. Right. I'll give it an alias old or region equals to our region and o.format csv is equal to r.max amount. So same thing here. So just stick with the alias o.sales rep and o dot region. So here, right, o is simply the very first city, but that's all. Just use the alias to make it cleaner. So this is my CTE. Let's choose a CTE and run it and see if we get the same results. So execute this. So you can see the sales rep names, the regions, and the amount in USD, right? And this is shorter and cleaner than the very first query. So you see, this is just clean and concise, right? But the original subquery was quite long. So this is a good example of writing cleaner codes with CTEs, right? The subquery is to the exact same result, right? It's what you returned, but we now have a cleaner result. So I think we have one more query to work on. So this is yeah, I just did 6. We skipped the last one because of time. So for the region with largest sales, how many orders were placed? So for this, come back to SSMS. This should be query 7. So query 7. For this, I think we'll have just one CT for this. So just confirm something. The question says I think we can break it down to subqueries. So this very first subquery here, can make it our first CTE. So I'll copy this, make it my first CTE. So I'll say I'll call this region sales, just like this subquery. I'll say with this, right, region sales. So with region sales, as so I put a bracket. I can now copy what I pasted, right? Region name, region name, region, some of this, right? So this is my first subquery, my first CT rather. And then I come down here, I put a comma, my second CTE. So second CTE, right? So you just look out where you have repetitions of the same query. So this query here, right? This second CTE here, we just chose what? The maximum amount, right? From what? This particular value here. So we just chose we just chose the maximum value, right? Select max of this from what our very first CTE, which is this. So what we just do for our second CTE, right? We just call this max amount. Max amount, like I said, right? You don't put the width for the second CTE. So as comma max amount as, so put a bracket. And this query is simply select the max amount, right, from our first CTE. So I'll copy this, select the max amount from what our first CTE, which is region sales. So I'll just come on here and copy that query I selected. Select this from what region sales, this very first CTE here. So we are just avoiding repetition of codes, right? Making it cleaner from region sales. And I close the bracket. And then we can now return the final query, which is this, right? Choose the region name out of this. So second city, this is now our final query, right? Select region name as region, town star, blah, blah, having some amount equal to. So for our initial subquery, right? Having the amount is equal to what? The second CTE, right? The second CTE. Second CTE, that's what we have here. This CTE here, max amount, right? So we'll say where is equal to the second CTE max amount. So let's see, this give me an error. I'm missing something. Let me run this and see what happens. I think I know what's happening. Let me just run and see what happens first. Execute max amounts. Okay, so let me try this. This should okay, this will work. Where is equal to. So these all facing the very first example we are trying to solve, right? Max amount is 1 row, right? So the CT we are using, this CT here, right, is just 1 row, right? It's just 1 row of values. So for this, we would need to use like a subquery, right? Select star from max amount. So it still returns 1 row, right? But then it treats the result as a table. Select star from our CT, even though it's 1 row, but it then acts like a table, right? And this fits the context. So when I run this now, it should be it's execute correctly. So I execute this. Yeah, cool. Not is 2357. And when I go up to this example here, right, the initial subquery routes, execute is also right. We have the same thing, 2357. So I'll just quickly go back to the very first query we have issues with. I think the issue is now clear. So we just use the select star to fix that issue and it should work. So for this example, yeah, so we're trying to do with this. I think this one worked. It was the query tree that was giving that issue. Query tree was giving the issue. Yeah, this. So instead of main months, we would say in brackets, select star from main months. This should work now. So I choose this and click here. Yeah, cool. 268.111.208. And the same thing here too. 268.111.208. Yeah, cool. So you're able to replicate the exact same thing, right, with CTE. And you might ask, CTEs, are they faster? There is a huge faster more than subqueries. And the answer is for small data sets, right? They have similar performance. But for larger data sets, subqueries, even though they might be verbose, right, and not easy to read, but they have better performance compared to CTEs. So CTEs, you're creating a virtual table as like an intermediary step. So that would require more resources compared to a subquery. So time is fast spent. I would like to know if you have any questions for today. So if you have questions, you can type in the chat or simply raise your hand and I'll hear your question.
I don't have.
You don't have, okay. So if there are no questions, I think we can round up for today. So thank you all for your time and have a great night's rest and an amazing week ahead. I'll catch you guys in the next section.
All right.
Good night,
Thank you for
everyone.
the session, everyone. Good night,
Yeah, yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, good night, Jason.
All right. Bye.
Good night.
Bye. Yeah, good night, Gamma.